这个故事如果你听起来不累，那么你的听力水平在生活中是完全够用的。要持续提升英文，记得点击订阅按钮。我们开始吧。
A single shout on the radio sent a whole nation back to square one. In the early days of radio, families would gather around a wooden box that hummed and cracked like a small fire. It was the 1920s in Britain. Football was already a passion, but not everyone could get to the stadium. Tickets were hard to get. Trains were slow. Many people were poor. So they listened. The problem was simple and strange at the same time. How do you describe a fast game with 22 men running across a wide field, when your listeners cannot see a thing? One rainy afternoon, a match was about to be broadcast live. The announcer looked at the field and felt a cold wave of fear. The pitch was just a large green space. If he said the ball was on the left of what? If he said near the goal, which side? Listeners would be lost. A producer had an idea. He ran to a shop near the stadium and bought a large sheet of paper with a grid of numbered squares. He divided the football field into sections on that paper. Each section had a number. Square one was near one corner. The numbers moved across and down like a chessboard. Before the game began, the announcer told the audience to draw a grid on their own paper at home. He asked them to number the squares the same way. Many people grabbed pencils. Some used the back of old letters. Children leaned close to the radio, ready to help their parents. The whistle blew. The crowd roared through the speakers like a storm. The announcer spoke quickly but clearly. The ball is in square 7. Now it moves to square 8. A long pass to square 12. Listeners followed along, eyes on their hand-drawn maps. For the first time, they could feel the shape of the game. Then came the moment that made the phrase stick. A striker ran forward with speed. The ball cut through square 10 and 11. The crowd noise grew louder. The announcer almost shouted. He is near the box. He shoots. Silence. The shot missed. The ball bounced off a defender and rolled all the way back across the field. The announcer laughed, half in shock, half in joy. And we are back to square one. Across the country, people smiled. They looked down at their paper and saw the path the ball had taken. All that build-up, all that hope, and now the game had returned to the starting corner of their grid. It happened again and again during the season. A team would push hard toward the goal. Pass after pass, square after square. The crowd would rise. Then a mistake, a slip, a strong tackle, and the ball would travel back. The announcer would say those words with a mix of humor and pain. Back to square one. Soon the phrase left the football field. Writers began to use it in newspapers. A business plan failed. Back to square one. A builder made an error and had to tear down a wall. Back to square one. A student erased a page full of wrong answers. Back to square one. There was another twist to the story. Some people later argued that the phrase came from the game of snakes and ladders, where players can slide back to the start. Others said it might have come from military maps. The truth is not carved in stone. Yet the radio story has a warm human feel. You can almost hear the crackle of the old speaker and the breath of the announcer. One winter match gave the phrase even more power. The field was heavy with mud. Boots stuck in the ground. Passes were slow. One team fought hard for nearly the whole first half. They moved the ball step by step across the grid. Square 3 to 5. 5 to 9. 9 to 14. The announcer's voice shook with excitement. They are close now. So close. A defender slipped. The striker had a clear path. He kicked with all his strength. The ball hit the post. It bounced high into the air, then dropped into a mess of legs. A wild swing sent it flying back down the field. The crowd gasped as it rolled, slow but steady, across the muddy grass. The announcer did not speak for a second. Then he let out a long breath. After all that work, we are back to square one. That line carried more than location. It carried feeling, effort, hope, loss, a quiet promise to try again. The beauty of the phrase is not in the square. It is in the return. Life rarely moves in a straight line. A new job can fall apart in a week. A small mistake can ruin months of planning. A kind word can fix a broken bond, and one harsh word can break it again. You build, you move forward, you see the goal ahead. Then something happens, and you are back where you began. The radio announcer could have sounded tired or angry. Instead, he often sounded calm, even a little amused. The game was not over. Being back at square one did not mean the end. It meant another chance to move across the board. That is why the phrase has lasted for almost a century. It speaks to a deep truth. Starting over is not shameful. It is part of the path. Think about your own grid. Maybe you tried to learn English and stopped. Maybe you saved money and had to spend it all on an emergency. Maybe you trusted someone and got hurt. In those moments, it feels like all the squares you crossed have vanished. But the field is still there. The lines are still drawn. The whistle can blow again. Back to square one is not a sentence of defeat. It is the sound of a ball rolling back into play, waiting for the next bold pass. It is the space before a new run. It is a reminder that every great move begins from somewhere simple. When you find yourself at that first square, do not stare at it with fear. Pick up your pencil. Draw the grid again. The game is still yours to play.
能以非母语者的身份专注学习到现在，这本身就是很棒的进步。真诚感谢你的观看。如果你觉得本期内容实用，点赞或留言让我知道你的想法，这对我持续创作非常重要。我们下期见。